And we're live. It is Tuesday, January 13th, the year of our Lord 2026. It is 8 o'clock a.m. And we're going to be joined by Nastia shortly to discuss the worsening energy crisis in Kyiv, which is getting super bad and causing all kinds of terrible things. We're going to get an update. I am just but for reasons of that I'm sure you can imagine, which is that it is hard to log into things like this when there's an energy crisis. There is Nastia. Hello, Nastia.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Wait, I am getting you on my headset, not on my speakers, which is fine, except that I need to put
Hello.
on my headset. How are you?
Excuse me. I'm okay.
Are you
I'm
cold?
writing. Right this second, no, because I'm wearing like a layer and a really thick, expensive sweater, and I'm at a fancy restaurant that has open heat. But 2 seconds ago, when I was outside, I was very cold.
Yeah, so first of all, let's get an update. What is the temperature outside?
It was fucking low. It's -10, which let me calculate that to
Well,
Fahrenheit.
that's about 15 degrees Celsius.
What?
Fahrenheit.
It's okay. Uh, why is this so complicated?
It's not.
It's not?
5/9
Okay.
minus 32. It's going to be right around 15 degrees.
It's 14, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, okay. So yeah, that's that. At night it drops to -16, -15,
So that's
which is a
really
little more,
cold. That's going to be like 5 degrees. Um,
yeah, yeah, that's and it's more problematic because you're at night in bed, you're not at a place that has reserve power.
right.
You're at home, you're in bed. Uh
And is
you'll
that um,
you would rather not wear a winter jacket in bed, so yeah.
right? So, first of all, is that seasonable for Kiev at this time of year,
No,
or is this
no. This
unusually cold?
this is unusually cold. Yes. This winter, I mean, it's not like in my lifetime these temperatures have never existed in Kyiv. Like it would happen once every few years, but right now we have a full like cold wave. Like
Hmm.
these temperatures have like they've maintained for over a week, and they're gonna keep happening for another week, which is really unusual. I don't remember the last time that happened at all.
All
Uh,
right. And
so
the obviously the infrastructure in Kiev is normally adequate to handle a cold snap. Um,
right,
but this is not a usual winter for non-atmospheric reasons. We have talked about the Russian attack on uh, other stuff recently, but bring us up to date about what the situation looks like now.
right. So this is actually fresh in my mind because I was writing a little piece about this for my Substack, which I'll hopefully publish today. So we're
And
having
what is
that.
your
But
Substack called?
I mean, I assume everyone here is subscribed to my Substack already.
No, it's
But
not true. Actually, not true, because we
okay.
have a whole bunch of people who are joining us right now on YouTube. We've got a
Oh,
whole bunch
okay.
of people. We are
A
live
whole
streaming
bunch.
to,
Like how many?
well, right now there are, I don't know, 10, 15, but there are
Okay.
also a bunch of people. We are also live streaming to Substack right now, and that means anybody on Substack could be
Okay.
seeing. So let's assume people don't
Okay.
that you're not necessarily a celebrity yet. Um,
I'm definitely not a celebrity. It's just that our audiences overlap. But yes, my substack is called Yours Ukrainian. I write a weekly Ukraine themed newsletter, just addressing the main news of the week. And then on top of that, when there's something else that's going on, I do some writing about whatever else is happening, like right now, the energy crisis.
so
Um,
for all of the 49 people who are joining us on Substack right now, you should subscribe to Yours Ukrainian, which
Thank you,
is
Ben.
Nastia's Substack.
Yeah. And if you become a paid subscriber, you get a bunch of really cool benefits, which I think are cool. Uh, I host calls with all of my paid subscribers twice a month, and we have a chat on WhatsApp, which I recently started, which is really cool because you don't have to wait for me to, get my thoughts together in a newsletter. I just send stuff there every day, just sort of updates here from Kyiv, news articles, whatever I might find interesting. So anyway,
And
if you want
as
to
somebody
support
who
that,
corresponds with Nastia by
mhm.
text, I would say dozens of times a day on average. Nastia is usually my first text when I wake up in the morning. I make a
Yeah,
cup of coffee and I text her hello. And
and then
Nastia,
I just have a stream of consciousness.
yeah, and Nastia kind of runs a stream of consciousness in the form of texts to me. And I will say that Nastia is an unusually fun person to text with. So get on her WhatsApp. Just don't think too hard about it. Just do it.
Okay, so that's that. Um, but the situation in Kiev really started getting really bad last Thursday. So there was a mass Russian attack against energy infrastructure, mainly targeting Kiev. That was overnight from Thursday to Friday. And on Friday morning, temperatures plunged to -10, which is what they are right now. So the cold wave kind of started a few hours after the Russian attack, which that whole thing was obviously planned. And so 6,000 high-rise apartment buildings in Kyiv lost heating. And the mayor said that's roughly half of all of the apartment buildings in the city. So you can imagine that's really not ideal. And then a bunch of other places lost water supply, which has since been restored. And we've already had pretty long electricity outages even before that latest attack, but they've gotten worse. And so the Russians timed the attack to this cold wave. And since then, the temperatures have consistently stayed very low. And a lot of people are dealing with really, really tough situations, especially on the left bank of Kyiv, uh, where traditionally it's somewhat less affluent areas, poorer areas where the energy infrastructure is maybe harder to repair. And not only are the people suffering where they have like 9 degrees Celsius temperature inside their apartments, whatever that is in Fahrenheit, it's it's really really cold.
It's around
The
50.
north, yeah. Uh, and then also the repairs, which are usually pretty quick. Usually after attacks, the first responders and workers could repair the infrastructure within a day, and people would get heating back and get water back. But because of all of this freezing, all of the broken pipes would have like super thick ice around them. So these responders have to go there with this fiery thingy and melt
Yeah, I
the
mean,
ice off of the pipes,
you need a flamethrower for that situation.
like literally, because there's no you can't repair the thing because the whole thing is frozen.
Right.
So you can imagine like what a logistical nightmare it is to repair it. And the authorities were like, sorry guys, like these repairs are made last the whole week, right? And so there are these people all around Kyiv who have no heating, barely have any electricity, and their repairs are taking super long. And of course, Russia is going to keep attacking. There was an attack on Kyiv just last night. It lasted through this morning. Like when I woke up today around 7:30 a.m., I checked the Telegram chats and there was a group of cruise missiles coming towards Kyiv. So I just dozed back off as one does when they sees that message. But yeah, it's really really difficult. But what I, what I've noticed specifically today is that the problem I think isn't necessarily the lack of district like centralized heating. It's the lack of electricity. Because to be honest, the centralized heating is already like, even if it was on for everybody, it's not strong enough to deal with the temperature point. So, for example, my apartment has heating. I do have heating on. The batteries in the wall are warm, but that like my apartment is still super cold. Because I don't know, maybe it's something about the integrity of the building, the thickness of the walls, right? Like this, it depends on many factors. But the centralized heating does nothing for me. The problem is that because of how low the temperatures are, people need to use other types of heaters and radiators, which are all plugged into electricity, work through electricity, and they can't do that because the electricity outages have gotten a lot worse since the last attacks, and some places would have no power for more than a day, which I do not remember the last time that. That's very unusual. Or they would have power for like 3 hours a day. That's nothing, right? And so then the problem is compounded because uh, everyone who could afford it, you know, people and in their apartments, but also small businesses, you know, medium-sized businesses, everyone has gotten a bunch of fancy generators and batteries, like the one that people in this audience helped me raise money to buy one. They cost anywhere from $500 to $3,000, depending on how powerful they are. Those batteries can help you stay warm, but they need to be charged, and it takes time to charge. And so now the problem that I noticed is that there would be no electricity for so long that these batteries can't charge it fast enough. So places started closing, like little shops and stores started closing because they can't even charge their reserve power supplies because there's just no power. So the point of that is like it's not the lack of district heating. I think that's the main problem. It's lack of electricity that's the main problem.
Well, it's
So
both, right? I mean,
it's
you have
both.
the batteries have to do more, and the electricity has more work to do because the
Yeah.
baseline heating is below where it should be. All right, so you were telling me this morning about some of the impacts now that grocery stores are closing,
Yes.
that trolleys are not running. So walk us
Yes.
through what is the, in addition to everybody having to wear uh, uh, down jackets and in their apartments, what's the Kyiv is kind of famous for day-to-day life going on as normal
Mm-hmm.
with everybody who survived the night. It sounds like things aren't quite normal today.
Yeah. So I took my daughter to daycare this morning, and the daycare manager said that our daycare hasn't had any electricity for more than 24 hours, which means that they couldn't charge their batteries fully or at all. And so she was like, and we still don't have any electricity. And if this continues and we have no power for the rest of the day, then we'll probably have to cut our operations short today and you'll have to pick up your kid like 2 or 3 hours earlier because by 4 p.m. it's going to get dark and there will literally be no light in this building and there will be no heat in this building. So she was like, we have gas so we can cook normal, like warm food, but that's it. So that's really, suboptimal. And this is the first time this kind of thing happens. This has never been an issue before. Because even during power outages, which have been happening for months and months, like there has barely ever been a day in the past however many months that we've had no outages. Like there's always an outage every day, but they would usually be manageable, right? They would be like 4 hours without power, 4 hours with power, back and forth like that, or 7 hours with, 7 without. But now it would be like full day without power. And it's really critical, And so I dropped my kid off and I was like, okay, well, I have to go get some extra warm new layers. So I went to a few stores in Central Kyiv. In every store that I went, everyone, like the stylists and the staff and the cashiers, are wearing their winter jackets inside, offering you tea and stuff. It's really cold. It's dark. And when I was like changing and trying stuff on, I overheard one of the stores talking about how they may need to fully close for the day tomorrow. and maybe just open up on like an individual order, or if somebody calls them and asks, open up for them, because they have no reserve power left. They can't charge it. And so, then I saw news that all of the, is it trams or trolleys? The stuff that's like the cars that are connected to the power lines, um, they stopped functioning on the right bank of Kyiv, to save electricity, because that's how critical things are. And also that supposedly a bunch of big grocery stores are also not operating for a variety of reasons, from the fact that they just don't have any reserve power left, to the fact that if power keeps jumping up and down, then their what is it called? All of the machinery that they have inside gets all screwed up and can't work properly. So they have to shut down to repair it. So this is like kind of like, I mean, it's not actually apocalyptic, but it's the worst it has been on my memory.
Gotcha. So I want to pause for just a second to address something that's going on in the chat. Uh, uh, John Hawkinson, if you could do me a favor and let me know whether that is coming from YouTube or whether we have some very inappropriate comments going on in the chat that
Yeah,
are
about women being hot. I saw that.
that are coming. It appears that these are not coming from anybody in the
Oh,
Greek
geez.
chorus.
Okay, yeah, it's
Um,
really bad.
yeah.
Okay.
So thank you to those who alerted me to it. I will address it now as we continue to talk. And I don't know why YouTube comments are showing up in the Greek chorus. That shouldn't be happening. And oh, by the way, I guess we won't stream to YouTube anymore if that continues. Um, uh, so, stupid question, but what are people doing about it? I mean, there are people who can go out to their dachas. A lot of Ukrainians have houses in the suburbs or in the
Hmm.
country, but a lot don't. And
Right.
so, uh, what is the options for people who are uh, um, uh, um, uh, what is the option for people uh, um, who are
Don't have the
in,
resources
don't have the resources?
and don't have the Greek chorus supporting them. Um, well, yeah, as you said, um, a good amount of people do have dachas, or their grandparents living in the suburbs in a little house that has sort of autonomous, electricity stuff. So that's an option. And in fact, the mayor, when that initial big attack happened on Friday, Thursday to Friday, the mayor actually called on the residents of Kyiv to leave the city if possible, which was kind of outrageous and shocked everyone. One, because I don't remember the last time this happened, and B, because, and this is kind of a side point, but the mayor of Kyiv is astonishingly corrupt, and everyone hates him, and everyone is just kind of making fun. Everyone who pays attention to these politics anyway was making fun of the mayor, being like, with the kind of, how rich of you to tell us to leave now that you failed to prepare the city for exactly the scenario that everyone has been anticipating since the end of the summer, right? Like everyone knew this was going to happen, that Russia's going to try to knock down energy infrastructure as it has done every single winter. But here we are. So, yes, the options are you could leave. You could get whatever power batteries you could, extra heaters and stuff like that. You could get extra layers, warm up, and just like sleep under 3 different blankets. I sleep under two. Um, you could also go to one of these government, not shelters, but kind of points. What are they called then? invincibility points. We
Warming
translated that
centers.
to yeah, there's a name for it. Центри незламності, пункти незламності in Ukrainian. But they're basically like
It's like a support center.
it's like a support center where there's like hundreds, if not maybe there's more than 1,000 of them in Kyiv actually, but there's definitely hundreds around Kyiv. And you can warm up, have some hot beverages, charge your phone and like critical devices that you have. That's kind of a temporary relief. So yeah, but there's really not that many options for you if you're in some of those poorer areas of Kyiv. Like there is one place where they still, I think as of today, the mayor said 500 apartment buildings remain without heating. So we went from 6,000 right to 500.
Well, that's
which is still
actually
nothing.
pretty good in terms of, you know,
But
if you
it's
want to.
still 500 apartment
It's
buildings,
still
right?
500 apartment buildings. It's not 500 apartments. These are
Yeah,
major. A lot of them are Soviet
high
era,
rise.
and
Yeah.
they're big blocks of
Mm-hmm.
apartments. And
Yeah.
this is a lot of people, but it's
Mm-hmm.
1/12 as many as it was a few days ago, which is that's good news. But
Yeah.
again, if you
Yeah.
can't back up the if you can't back up, if the electricity grid is not functionally backing up the heating system, that's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people suffering. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
And as I've said, I think the key problem is not the heating, it's the electricity, which
yeah.
remains a big problem.
So one other big problem is that the pace of repairs doesn't necessarily exceed the pace of attacks. One
Exactly. Yes.
cruise missile, one thing that lands does damage that takes many, many hours of humans working to repair. And you
Mm-hmm.
only have to get lucky a few times if you're the Russians to knock out a lot of power to a lot of people.
Right.
And it's only early January, or I guess it's now mid-January. Things don't really warm up until mid-March, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, if I look at the weather app right now, it looks like it's gonna start warming up, uh, kind of in 10 days.
Right, but
So,
that's a temporary warm up, not a seasonal warm up.
right. I mean,
Right.
it's
I mean,
still
it
gonna
can
be
be cold at
-8
any
at night.
time in Kyiv through mid-March, right?
Basically, yeah. Yeah. So, that's the problem. Also, can I do kind of somewhat an off-topic comment, but I
Well, let's
saw,
wait,
yeah.
let's finish this. So we are going to return to the idea that we were talking about after the Greek
Yes.
chorus um, uh, 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 stepped up for Nastya and her family. People expressed interest in buying EcoFlow batteries for other families.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to think this is a very opportune time to do that, even though
Mm-hmm.
people cannot currently charge them. There will be a time when the electricity comes back on, and the more hours of
Actually, the battery that I have has a fast charge option, and it takes like 30 minutes to charge fully. So you gotta know what to buy.
yeah. So here is what we're going to do, since the vote was quite overwhelming, as I recall, that people wanted to get involved in this. I do not have a 501c3 organization that can handle this. So we are going to, this is going to be non-tax deductible charity contributions. And I understand that that is suboptimal for people, including me. But I don't care. It's an emergency situation. So what we're going to do on the next Dog Shirt Daily, which will come out today, I will include the same set of links that I included before. for people who want to, all of this is going to have to be done on a trust basis. I assume if you guys didn't trust me, you wouldn't be interested in doing this anyway. I will send notes, ways that you can Venmo or whatever,
PayPal, right?
PayPal me funds, and I will, every time those funds reach a certain level. So, there's a minimum cost to a battery that is worth having and is useful in this situation. I don't know what it is. It's significantly less than the battery we bought Nastya. But
Not significantly. It's like 1700.
70, well, okay, so that's, a
Yeah.
third less. So
So yeah.
Nastya and I will figure out what the cost of the appropriate battery is. And
Mm-hmm.
every time funds reach a certain level, we will buy somebody a battery. And it will be Nastya's job to figure out who needs a battery, and
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that she gets receipts that show
Yes.
that these batteries were purchased. And we will uh, try to, in the interest of the privacy of the people in question, I want to um, share as little information about the individuals as possible. I think people will be more inhibited about asking for help if they think we're going to
Yeah.
talk about them. And
Mm-hmm.
so I will make sure on behalf of the Greek chorus that I see receipts, and and
I
people.
can share some details about, who I have in mind right now.
I would rather you didn't, just because I don't
Why
want
not?
to. Well, well, keep names out of it. Keep
No, of course names. I mean, I just wanted to bring up that I talked about this friend of mine before. She's a single mom who lives in the bank of the left bank of Kyiv with a kid. So she's in the area that gets kids the most and suffers the most, and she also doesn't have the family support that I have. So I just like really feel for her, the mother to mother. So and her kid also works, not works, but studies at home. Like he does homeschooling a lot. So they're at home a lot. So it really matters that there's peace and energy at home. So I'd like to help them because I think they're in a hard situation. That's just the
yes.
first person.
So the answer to the question in the chat is yes. I will make Zelle an option. And I think this honestly works best if people think about it uh, in terms of what they could do monthly for the next 3 months. After that, there'll still be electricity issues, but there won't be exigent heat issues.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, so let's, think about, let's think about how many of these things we can get done. Um, I
Then
do
could I
think.
also share the links to all of your payments in my Substack as well? Uh,
Sure, by all means.
okay. Because
And
because it's a lot easier for people to donate to you because you have an American
yeah. No,
thing
we should do this. Nastya and I have a
system.
good system set up
Yeah.
for how I
Yeah.
can send money to her in Ukraine, but
Hmm.
it is less easily replicatable than you might think. It actually took a little bit of doing to set up.
Yeah. It's almost like we were funneling Hamas money or something. The banks were not
Don't
excited.
say that, because
Whoever's listening,
yeah,
that was a
to
joke.
Kash Patel, that was a joke. There is no material support for anything other than Nastya and
Yeah.
uh, her Substack and that sort of thing going on. Um, so All right, you wanted to change the subject.
Oh, yeah, it's a little gossipy, but I think it's worth saying. So I saw in the chat that some people were sharing articles from Philip O'Brien, who has an enormous Ukraine kind of security team Substack. And I just wanted to caution people about reading him when it comes to Ukraine, because I have personally found a lot of his takes really wrong. And I know that I'm not alone uh, in that analysis. I know that a lot of people in the sort of journalism community and security analyst community really disagree with him in a lot of fundamental things. So, and I've had a lot of people in my that follow my Substack bring up his articles and sort of ask me, "Oh, like, do you agree? Do you disagree with what I said?" And more often than not, I vehemently disagree. So, just want to caution people on that.
So I will say that is an excellent caution, and it is generally when you get a caution like that, not a reason not to read the person, but it is a good reason to have diverse reading and not over
Mm-hmm.
rely on any one
Yep.
source. Phillips
Yep.
O'Brien is an interesting fellow and has many interesting ideas. He also has really good people writing for him. Of
Yep.
and lots of people feel the same way, by the way, about me, that the more eccentric your opinions are about things like the situation, the more people are going to disagree with you, and there's
I think
nothing.
that's a very unfair comparison, to be honest, because
I'm
I
just
think
saying.
with
I'm just saying. I don't want. I don't want to be in the position of ever discouraging people from reading somebody because I or
I can be in
you
that position
disagree
because
with
I'm
them.
a Ukrainian. And I'm just saying that when it comes to matters of Ukraine and the war in Ukraine, in which I think my opinion can more often than not be trusted, uh, I would like to discourage people.
So
Uh,
Matt
but that's me.
asks, can you say more about your areas of disagreement with him?
Uh, well, that kind of gets into airing dirty laundry. Well,
Well,
okay,
you did
one,
bring it
for
up.
example, I did bring it up because I think it's very important. But okay, so for example, when Trump uh, decided to sanction major Russian uh, energy companies, I think it was Lukoil, right, pretty recently, it was a big deal. And the administration published its sanctions, and there was this, Ben, what is it? There's a legal term for it, like this period of a month before the sanctions actually kick in.
Yep.
There's a legal term for it, and O'Brien totally sort of freaked out about that, and his take was that Trump is actually protecting Lukoil companies for another month, and that what he should have done, what the administration should have done, is just sanction them immediately because otherwise it's all useless. And I've talked to people, not even Ukrainians, sort of American legal experts who understand sanction policy more than me and O'Brien and everyone else combined, and they've said that that's basically bullshit because this sort of, again, I'm forgetting the term, but this sort of extra period is totally standard practice and happens with all sanctions. And there is nothing, uniquely bad about Trump doing it. That's just the first thing that came to mind, and I've talked to a lot of people around that as well who said that, like, there is no reason to freak out about this cautionary, like, month period. It's just standard practice. There is, like, this is not, you shouldn't be yelling at the top of your lungs that Trump is horrible with he's protecting for. And that's exactly what Phillips Brand did. So that's just one thing.
Gotcha.
But if you want to text me in private about it, I'm happy
Happy to dish.
happy to dish in private.
All right. So, folks, we have covered the agenda that I meant to cover this morning, which is to get you guys an update on the energy situation in Kyiv and also to relaunch our generator project. Keep an eye on today's Dog Shirt Daily for links to how you can contribute. Again, I want to emphasize this is not a tax deductible situation. This is an emergency situation. The only thing I will tell you about it is I will spend 100% of the money that you guys send by way of getting as many of these done as I can. And Nastya will find as many people as need generators or batteries to uh, um, uh, to receive them. John Hawkinson has a question. What's the deal with Ukrainian power plants in hostile territory like Zaporizhia? My impression is that Zaporizhia is currently essentially non-operating, and that it is the largest energy plant in Europe, and it's not actually producing electricity right now. Is that right?
I think so. I'm worried about being wrong, but I'm pretty sure Zaporizhia uh is not generating electricity.
Yeah.
It's under Russian occupation. It's a really precarious situation. Yes.
Um, all right. So we have 23 more minutes. The floor is open. One quick announcement about the cross-pollination of the chats between Riverside and the places that we are streaming to. I assume that this started the other day. It has never happened before, and I don't like it at all. I think the goal is to keep the Greek chorus chat completely separate from all other chats, in part to uh, uh, in part to prevent intrusions of unpleasant stuff like happened just before. Yes, Kate, I know it started happening last week, but it came out of nowhere. I assume it is a settings issue that I can resolve. If it's not, we will not stream to other platforms. And so it appears to be not happening with Substack. Um, uh, and uh, um, uh, it appears to be not happening with Substack, only with YouTube. But I will resolve it and or cut off other platforms. And yes, John is correct. I can turn off the YouTube chat entirely, which is a solution that I'm going to exercise um, right now. Um, all right. What is on people's mind? Nastia, what else are you thinking about today?
Um, what am I thinking about?
You have a
Sorry, I
piece
just
that
got
you've written for Lawfare, which has not run yet, about the government
government
shakeup
reshuffle.
in Ukraine, which
Yeah,
actually seems to be quite a major cabinet shakeup.
yeah, yeah.
Give us a little preview. It seems like this was fallout from the Yermak ouster, which we discussed a few weeks ago. But we now finally have cabinet appointments and appointments to replace him. What do you make of it all?
Okay. So it's actually good that we didn't run the piece and we can run it today because the parliament, because nearly all of the reshuffles that Zelensky has done had to be approved by parliament, and the parliament is voting on it literally right now. So I can edit the piece and make it smoother and just say that the whole thing was uh, approved by the parliament and it's all, uh, all good now. But yeah, there was a major government shakeup.
Is there
As you've
any
seen,
chance that that the changes will not be approved? Is it
No.
is it a
Almost all
parliament a
have already
rubber
been
stamp for
approved.
this purpose, or is
Yes,
it?
yes. The parliament has been a rubber stamp for basically all purposes for years, Ben. It's the exact situation like your Congress right now. Yeah, the vast majority of appointments have already been approved. It's now 3 p.m. They've been working since morning. I already saw
Gotcha.
that they voted and stuff. Um, yeah, so as I say in the piece, nobody took the mantra New Year, New Me as seriously as Zelensky this year, because on January 2nd, he announced a substantial government overhaul. And he sort of pledged a bunch of reforms, said that he was going to replace the leadership of all of the law enforcement agencies, apart from NABU and stuff, because they're independent and you can't just replace their leadership on a whim. There needs to be cause. Probably the most significant is the fact that Zelensky finally appointed the new chief of staff. The position has been vacant for nearly 2 months after the ouster of Yermak. And Zelensky, even joked with journalists at one point that it was such a hard decision to make, who to make the next chief of staff, that it's almost easier to just get rid of that institution completely and just get rid of the office. He literally said that to journalists at a briefing. But he appointed Kirill Budanov, his new chief of staff, who is the head of Ukraine's defense intelligence, our formerly top spy, a very sort of charismatic guy, loved by the media, has this, very, your typical spy aura, very mysterious, very serious. So he agreed to become his chief of staff, which is a very interesting decision and a very interesting, the fact that he agreed is very interesting to me. And then the other significant appointments are the new Minister of Defense. Zelensky replaced the Minister of Defense. The new Minister of Defense is now Mikhailo Fedorov, who was Ukraine's Minister of Digital Transformation. So he is this, again, very popular, very famous, young 34-year-old guy. That's crazy. That's everybody knows. So yeah, very young, very successful, has carried out a lot of reforms, including Ukraine's famous Dia app, which is like this app and website that has all of our digitized official documents and a bunch of government services online. It's very efficient.
You can get married on an app now if you're
You can
Ukrainian.
Literally, that's
Did you
an
do that?
actual thing. I did not do that. No.
But did
Just
you
went
consider
into a
it?
city council.
Just
No,
like
because my husband was already not serving, so we didn't have to. We could go into separate rooms or something just for the sake of it, to write
yeah, I mean,
Substack
it's
about the
almost like a
experience.
matter of principle that if you
Yeah,
can get married
if you
on an
can,
app,
why
you
not?
can
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it seems like
yeah.
like you should try it just for fun.
Right, right.
Can you get divorced on the app?
It's a good question, probably, but it has to go through a court anyway, right?
Yeah.
So it's a bit more complicated. So yeah, this guy who's a big reformer is now leading the defense ministry, which I think is great. So I think those two appointments, the chief of staff and the minister of defense, are the most significant and have the potential to be the most impactful in the long run. But a bunch of other appointments have been made also. There is a new minister of energy, a new minister of justice. The most controversial move was to demote the head of the State Security Service, the SBU. That's just like GUR, the intelligence service. The SBU is a very famous agency. They're the ones who carried out the Operation Spiderweb that hit a bunch of Russian bombers. That was an SBU operation. They also have blown up the Kerch Bridge in Crimea several times. That was also there.
Yeah, but it's
They've done
still
a bunch.
standing. I think until the Kerch Bridge is in the freaking water, the SBU still has a stain on its reputation. Every time
Okay, Ben, you want to get a crack on it?
Every time
or whatever the phrase
Bridge,
is.
there's a Kerch Bridge operation, and people are like, "Yeah, we blew up the Kerch Bridge," and it's like the Ukrainian energy infrastructure. Then it's working the next few days later. Come on, in the sea.
Yeah. So, basically, the head of the SBU was in Maluk. He's a an iconic figure. I don't know whether you guys have some sort of figure who's like that, some
Well, they
iconic head
fired
of
them all.
CIA
We
or
used
something.
to, you know.
Yeah, yeah. But whenever I refer to America and American history, I mean like before the situation. I mean in normal times when you still had normal, institutions and stuff. So anyway, he got demoted. He's staying in the SBU. He wasn't just fired. He's staying in the SBU, focusing on special operations against Russia. So he kind of doing the same job, but just kind of at a lower level. And yeah, people were really shocked to hear that Zelensky wants to do that. And in fact, when there were rumors reporting, when there was rumors and reporting, source-based reporting that he's considering demoting Maluk, a bunch of famous, public commanders and military activists have put out statements publicly calling on Zelensky to not do that. It was a whole thing. Like the public reaction was very negative to it, saying that Maluk is the best ad the FBU has seen in its history and completely unjust, blah blah blah. But he demoted him anyway. And there has been a lot of speculation as to why that happened. I don't want to go into it because it's a bit too in the weeds. But if you're interested, follow my Substack Yours Ukrainian because I will be writing about it this week. Um,
So help me
and
out. I'm trying to
yeah,
look at this and say, is this a lot of the times when there's cabinet reshuffles in Ukraine, people react in a kind of meet the new boss, same as the old boss kind of
yeah,
way.
that's how it's always been.
There's a lot of cynicism about it,
Yeah.
and there's a sense, partly because of Andriy Yermak, that the power
Hmm.
resides in the president's office. It doesn't really matter who the prime minister is, who the defense minister is,
Yeah.
it matters who the frontline commander is, but it doesn't
Yeah.
matter who the energy minister is, except whose pockets are going to get lined.
Exactly.
And this reshuffle feels a little different than that. It feels a little
Yeah.
bit more profound, and
It is. It is a lot more profound.
as though Zelensky has learned something and is shifting
Hmm.
gears. And your
Yeah.
lead point, the lead of your article, which has not run yet, which is nobody takes New Me more seriously than Volodymyr Zelensky, kind of emphasizes that. I am interested in your sense of um, how we should expect Ukrainian government and governance to be different about this
Yeah.
as a result of this, or whether we should all just turn on "We Don't Get Fooled Again" and Pete Townsend and Roger Daltrey had it right in 71 or whenever that came out, and we shouldn't fret about it much. We shouldn't think about it a whole lot more than that.
So that's kind of an open question because, of course, the previous chief of staff, Andriy Yermak, was this he was kind of an anomaly in Ukrainian politics, and he made the office of the president as an institution abnormally powerful. Like it de facto was the single most powerful institution in Ukraine, more powerful than the parliament, more powerful than any ministry. And Yermak basically oversaw all staffing decisions. So, you couldn't become a minister of anything. You couldn't take any important post in the government's infrastructure if you didn't get along with Yermak. And so and that wasn't normal. That was kind of unconstitutional, illegal, and it wasn't supposed to work that way. And so when he got fired, there was a lot of hope that, maybe the office of the president will roll back to its sort of original intended functions, that it's going to be sort of mainly an administrative body, right? Like it's not this hyper powerful body. It's a bunch of, secretaries who help the president run his business. And there is some analytical advisory function to it, but it's mainly administrative. And so there was a lot of hope that it's going to go back to that. But it looks like that's not happening because Zelensky chose to appoint Budanov to be the next chief of staff. And Budanov is very powerful, one of the most trusted officials in the country. If you look at any public polling, he's in the top three, along with Zelensky, Zaluzhny, the former top general, who is now the ambassador in the UK, and then Budanov. So he's somewhere in the top three of the most sort of trusted and loved officials in the country by the public. He has a lot of political clout. The international intelligence community, the American intelligence community love him. He has a lot of really great ties with the US and other spy services. So, you know, he has a lot of his own political clout and power. And obviously he did not agree to this job to be Zelensky's secretary, right? Like it makes sense. Like, of course, he agreed to the job because he thought, you know, I mean, of course, I'm sure there's some purely patriotic thing there where, you know, the president asks me to serve and I have to help the president of my country.
Right.
Sure.
There's a,
But come on, like, of course, that's not the only reason.
as Larry Silberman once said to me, there are a few strong political principles that are completely transpartisan. And one of them is when the president asks for your help in wartime, you have to do it.
Exactly.
I have thought a lot about whether that applies in the situation or not. Fortunately for me, that this president doesn't ask my help. Yeah, I mean, there is a simple patriotic duty here.
Yeah, but I do not believe that that's the only reason. Of course, you know, Budanov could have said no. He was having a great career as the head of a very famous, very successful spy service in Ukraine. He didn't have to say yes, but he did. And so obviously he wouldn't have agreed to it unless he was given a broad mandate going forward, which means that the office of the president will remain an extremely powerful institution. I'm not saying it's going to be as, you know, I'm exaggerating, but sort of tyrannical and corrupt as under Yermak, but it's definitely not going to be merely an administrative body.
Right.
That's for sure. And so I think that's one of the main, because there's a lot of other discussions now in the Ukrainian media, you know, about the politics of it all, right? Because is Zelensky trying to keep all of the most popular political figures near himself so that he kind of takes out his main political opponents for whenever the election? Because if you're in the president's team, then, you know, you're smeared by whatever the president does and your ratings go down with him. Or is Budanov too smart to agree to that? So actually it's something else. Like there's a lot of all of these conversations happening. I'm not mentioning them in the piece because all of it is like, it could be this or it could be the opposite. And it's really anybody's guess. And, you know, there's no way to tell, really. It's just whatever it is, your subjective take on it. But I think what we absolutely can say for certain is that the office of the president will remain sort of the center of gravity of Ukrainian political power because, you know, it is now run by an extremely powerful, popular, ambitious politician who I think will not turn out like Andriy Yermak because he has a clean reputation. Again, Yermak was pretty much the most hated and least trusted official in the country. Right. Whereas Yermak is very much trusted and loved and has never been, like, I can't think of any corruption scandal of which he was part of. Like, I don't think he's ever been accused of any corruption. You know, again, I'm not naive. I'm not saying there's nothing going on. There can always be something going on. But the matter of the fact is he's a clean guy. People like him. People in Ukraine, people abroad like him. So I think it's a good thing. But we're definitely not going back to sort of democratizing the Ukrainian government and diversifying power and giving power back to the parliament as many had hoped. I don't think that's going to happen.
Nobody's going to give power back to the parliament. The parliament has to take power back. And
very important.
And
yes.
Just
nobody likes to give away their power.
Just like the U.S. Congress has to take power back. And exactly. That requires, you know, Ukraine is a weird combination of a presidential system and a parliamentary system.
Yes.
In the case of the United States, Congress, it will require divided government for Congress to take back power. In the case of Ukraine, it will require that the president not control 70% of the seats in the parliament.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Um, and
Yeah.
there's a certain stunting of that happens whenever you defer elections for long periods of time because of the war, which is a constitutional and legal requirement in Ukraine, but it also has the effect of freezing in place Zelensky's power, which is extreme and inflated because he was elected and then the parliament was elected in such strong reaction to Poroshenko and to his popularity at a particular moment in time. He remains popular, but he's not nearly as popular as he was when
Yeah.
when he was first swept in.
Ben, I'm afraid you're wrong. Poroshenko is really not popular.
That's what I mean.
Oh, okay, but I think you said he remains
Zelensky,
popular, but not nearly
no,
as.
Zelensky.
Oh, Zelensky, yes, because
Zelensky is
nobody
swept
gives a shit
in
about
with this
Poroshenko.
huge parliamentary majority because of how unpopular Poroshenko was. And
Yes,
that is not a
yes,
reflection of Zelensky's current popularity. It's a reflection of how disgusted people were with the previous government. And
exactly.
and
It was a
then
dissent vote or whatever you call
and
it.
then you freeze that in place because the war starts a year and a half later, and you have this kind of artificially inflated power center in the presidency locked in by this huge parliamentary majority, but none of it reflects the actual popularity of
Yes,
Zelensky right now.
yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Folks, we got to
Um,
wrap up. And
Before we do, can I mention something? I
yeah,
see that a few people have, in fact, subscribed to Your Opinion. Thank you, guys. I see all of you. And if you have become paid subscribers, so just look out for your welcome email because it has the link to the community group chat if you want to join that. And if you've already been subscribed, I sent a separate email to all of my material supporters with the link and instructions on how to join. It's really fun in there. As Auntie can attest to, it he's in the audience. I don't know.
all right. Folks, we're going to be back tomorrow. I have no idea who the co-hosts are going to be. I did not know this co-host would be joining us to talk about this subject until about 45 minutes before the show. I don't know who the guests are going to be, but you're going to be there, and I'm going to be there. And by the way, I forgot to say at the beginning of the show, the sun is shining. The birds are chirping. It is going to be a great fucking day. And guys, you're watching Dog Shirt TV. It is a goddamn revolution in morning television.